We're in conversation with Shashwat Goenka, the Vice Chairman of the RP-Sanjiv Goenka Group, which has diversified interests in everything from power to IT to quick commerce to sports. Shashwat, what's the mood at Davos? Indian CEOs we've been speaking to, at least, despite everything that's happening in Washington, are very bullish on India. So, what's the perception about India here? What's the perception about Prime Minister Modi, considering, he's just started his third term?
Hi, thank you for having me on the show. And I think when we look at India, of course, we as Indians are very, very bullish on India. I think there have been a lot of correct policy measures that the Modi government has taken in its first two terms and even now in its third term. And there's been a lot of consistency around policies, and there has been a lot of enablement and inclusion efforts that have happened across the country. And I think this is what we're seeing in the results for the country as well, right? We are probably the fastest growing large economy in the world, and there's no taking away from that. And when we look at the mood here in Davos as well, it's not just the Indian leaders, but across the world, when we're speaking to leaders from across the world, they're all looking at India with a very close lens, looking at investments in India and looking to see how India can be a core part of their strategies. So I think for every company today in the world, there is no future without looking at India.
Right. And when I look at the RP-Sanjiv Goenka Group, you have such diversified interests. What's your focus going to be in 2025? Green energy is also something that's very close to your heart. But, where will you deploy CAPEX this year?
Sure. So when we look at 2025, I think it's going to be a year of expansion and growth across all of our businesses. And a large part of that growth and expansion is going to come from the energy business, where we are looking to set up 5 gigawatts to begin with of hybrid wind and solar generation capacities, and with the aspiration of taking it to 10 gigawatts soon thereafter. These 5 gigawatts are in various different stages of execution at this point in time. So I think a lot of investment going in there. There'll be a lot of investment going into our carbon black and chemicals company as well, which is PCBL. And what's been very interesting here is, when we're looking at my BPO business, which is First Source Solutions,
yeah.
right? There's been a lot of conversation here around AI and how AI is going to transform businesses, and specifically this business. And for us, we're getting AI ready. Our target is by FY28, we're going to be an AI company.
And this is just First Source or across the group?
I think across the group, there's going to be usage of AI. We're already using AI across some of the different sectors in the group. And when we look at First Source specifically, there's going to be a lot more emphasis on it, where it's going to go from becoming only a BPO company to becoming a IT-enabled solutions company, which is going to be focused on, or which is going to be basically running on the backbone of AI, if I could say that.
Right. Shashwat, you said that 2025 is going to be a year of expansion for the group. Any investment target that you can share? What have you set aside this year?
I'm not going to share a number with you, but just looking at the large scale of investments we are doing across the business, it's going to be a year which is going to see, although over the next 3 years, you're going to see the highest ever investment that the group may have ever done.
Highest ever investment in the group. Okay, that's a tall target. But I'm also very curious. You guys own Spencer Retail, and a few days ago, you've announced Jiffy, which is your quick commerce foray. Now, why would you get into this space? Because it's already so hotly contested, and it's a space that, guzzles money. You have Zepto, Swiggy, Zomato, putting huge amount of capital behind this. So, why would you play in this field?
Sure. So, we've always been in the grocery retail space for the last 3 decades, right? And with each pivot in the industry, we have pivoted our business, right? From a physical store to being one of the first grocery e-commerce players in the country, and now to launching quick commerce. And when you really look at it, quick commerce is not a fad, right? It is here to stay. And it is going to be one of the ways that India shops grocery. It's not going to be the only way, right? And if you really look at the overall grocery retail market in India as well, 90% is still general trade and kiranas, and the rest of it is between modern trade, e-commerce and quick commerce, right? So there is enough for everyone, and that overall pie of grocery is becoming larger, and we want to play across all of it so that we can capture the most. And for us, from an investment standpoint, when you look at it, we've got 3.5 million active users.
On Jiffy? No,
in Spencer's.
In Spencer's. Okay.
And the idea is an average consumer shops for grocery 12 to 13 times in a month. Our average consumer comes to us 2.5 times. So the idea for us is, how do you kind of get higher share of wallet of that same consumer because that same consumer is obviously shopping either at their neighborhood kirana or through an e-commerce app or through quick commerce. And given that we are present in urban cities, quick commerce is where we are seeing the most competition from. So by offering our own quick commerce service, consumers know that they're getting the same trusted service of Spencer's, which is where they come physically twice or thrice in a month. And they can order from us whenever they want and get it fairly quickly as well.
Right. But are you confident that you will be able to take on some of these QC apps?
Absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Because for us, the idea is not at this point to kind of spend a lot of money to get new consumers. For us, it is really about getting our own consumers onto the Jiffy app to see how, like I said, we can get higher share of wallet from them. And yeah, absolutely. And I think retail is a competitive game, and the more the competition, the better the output.
Right. But you've decided to concentrate this right now in Kolkata and one more market, right?
Yeah, so we've just launched in Calcutta. And then we'll take it all to the rest of West Bengal as well. And then the other state that we play in is UP. So we launch with Lucknow soon after and then take it to the rest of UP as well.
So because it's a density game, you see potential for this to sort of take off in the markets that you're strong.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right. Shashwat, I can't let you go without asking you about your IPL team. I think a few days ago, you announced Rishabh Pant will be the captain of the Lucknow team. 2024 wasn't a great year for your IPL team.
Yeah.
You didn't make the playoffs, compared to the previous 2 years.
Yeah.
What are your expectations from 2025? Because the Indian team overall hasn't had a great run this year.
When I look at the Lucknow Super Giants, like you said, the first 2 years were great. Last year was not so great. But if you really look at it from a points perspective, everyone from the team that came fourth to the team that came seventh were all on the same points. It was just a run rate difference, right? But having said that, yes, we did have a bad year last year. And this year, we've made changes in the team. And we're confident that we are all ready to come back and win. Cricket is a game that you play to win. And that's the spirit that we work with at the Lucknow Super Giants.
Right. Last question, Shashwat. Any expectations from the union budget?
So, you know what, when you look at, again, what the Modi government has done with the budget over the last many years is they build on the previous budget, right? And so it's not a budget for 1 year. It's a budget with a long-term vision. And so even when you look at the budget right after they won the third term, which was in June, July last year, there were 4 clear pillars that were outlined for the growth of India. Right. And I'm hoping that this budget will further build on those because, if you look at the last 12, 13 years, each year there has been that significant improvement that has happened. And that's visible in whether you look at the number of startups, whether you look at the number of women directors, whether you look at electrification, whether you look at roads, whether you look at sanitation across the country. Right. And it cuts across all strata of society. So I think I'm very, very excited. And I'm most certain that this is going to be one of the best budgets that we would have ever seen.
Great. On that note, Shashwat, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you so much for having me, Chandra.
Thank you.